Hey, what's up, NFL nerds? We're back with another 2019 video. I can't say NFL prediction anymore because, I guess this is kind of a prediction. We're doing tier lists here. I feel like these have been, pretty popular lately. I figured I'll, jump on the bandwagon and, get into them as well. I posted on my Instagram that, I'll be posting a video tonight. I gave the option to do top 10 running backs or a running back tier list. Most people voted for the tier list. This is something I've actually wanted to do for a while, so yeah, we're gonna start doing it. Now, before we get into the video, make sure you go and subscribe if you haven't already. Like the video. And comment down in the description the comment section, what you would change. So, without further ado, let's jump right into it. So, these guys, I believe, are actually in alphabetical order. There's just, the way that I uploaded them. I've got Aaron Jones here. Aaron Jones, I feel like, played pretty well. If I remember correctly, he averaged the most yards per carry. He did pretty good in that in that Green Bay Packers offense, and I think he has potential to be a pretty good running back in the NFL. I'm gonna put him in good for right now, but he can definitely develop into great, possibly even elite if he takes that next step. So I see him, being a good running back, but not quite great yet. Next we have Alvin Kamara. I don't think anybody is going to be surprised by this. He's an elite running back. I don't know that I would, rank him, top 2 or 3 in the NFL, but he's definitely top 5, and I would definitely rank him an elite running back in the NFL. Yeah, he plays on an explosive Saints offense, and is a big part of why that offense is explosive. I think he's an elite running back. I don't think that's really arguable. Now I've got Adrian Peterson here. He had a 1,000-yard rushing season last year. I would say that's, great. But I'm doing this a little bit more based on how I think the running back will do in 2019. It's not going to be based completely off of 2018. It's going to be more how I think they'll do in 2019. Adrian Peterson is entering his age, 34-year season, or is he older than that? I don't know, but he's getting old. I don't think he'll be all that great behind the Redskins O-line. Yeah, I think he's just getting a little old. I'll put him in the good tier. Because, if you think about it, he's one of the best running backs of all time. And still at age, I think, 33, I think he is, he still had a 1,000-yard season. That's very impressive. So, that's where I would put him currently. Next, we have Chris Carson. Now, Chris Carson, I feel like, is honestly a pretty underrated running back. He also had a 1,000-yard season and was top 5 in rushing. And I think he complements Russell Wilson very well on that offense. He is a strong runner. He fights for extra yardage. I think he is considered a great running back currently, and I think he will have a great season. Now, I know a lot of people have been mentioning that in 2019, Rashad Penny will have, a lot more snaps. That could be true. But based on how Chris Carson did in 2018, I don't think they're going to take Chris Carson from the starting role. I see him having a really good season. Next here we have Christian McCaffrey. He was a guy that definitely surprised a lot of people in 2018. His rookie year really was not the greatest. He only averaged 3.7 yards per carry, and, he was almost looking like he'd be more of like a slot receiver. And I'll admit, even being a Panthers fan, I was one of those people. But after seeing his 2018 performance and seeing how much he improved and how much of a leader he has become for this offense, I see him still growing and continuing to get better, and I think he deserves to be in the elite tier. I think that's pretty reasonable. Next here we have Dalvin Cook. He'll be entering his third year in the NFL. He's a guy that people have been expecting to be good every year. His rookie year, people thought he was going to be one of the best running backs in the NFL. His sophomore year, people thought, okay, well, he's going to bounce back from his injury and, have another good year. Well, he got injured again. It's going to be his third year in the NFL. I don't think we've seen enough from him to call him a great or even elite running back. I know that Vikings O-line is struggling, but I'm going to give him the benefit of a doubt, and I'll predict him to be a good running back in 2019. I don't think he'll be great. I don't know if he'll... Honestly, I don't think he'll even make the top 10 running backs in 2019. But I think he'll be good for that offense and will at least have a noteworthy season. Now Damian Williams, I feel like he stepped into Kareem Hunt's shoes very nicely and was a nice replacement for him. Now, in that Chiefs offense, I don't think it would be all that difficult to be successful. You have Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback. You have two very, very reliable receiving targets in Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. You have a pretty dang good O-line. I don't think it's hard to be successful in that offense. I think he'll have a good season. I think he'll break 1,000 yards rushing. I don't think he'll quite take that step to a great running back, but I think he will get closer to it, and more people will notice him as, one of the good and rising running backs in the NFL. I think that's, fair to say. And then we got David Johnson here. David Johnson he's hard to predict. I think it was 2016. He had a phenomenal year. Was one of the best running backs in the NFL, and he was doing very well. 2018, he had a pretty good season too. He was definitely one of the few bright spots for that for that Cardinals offense. And I think seeing how bad the Cardinals offense was, I think he kind of went unnoticed. Um, you know, I think he's almost, for some people I would almost call him overrated, for some I'd say underrated. The NFL ranked him as I believe they ranked him as the number 28 running back in the NFL. I'm sorry, but you can't rate him that low. He can arguably maybe still be a top 10 running back this next year. I'm gonna go ahead and put him in great because he definitely has the potential to be there, and we've seen him be great. He has another year off his injury. I think he'll put up numbers that will surprise a lot of people. I don't think it'll be quite, elite running back numbers, but they'll be very good numbers. Next here we have David Montgomery. Now, I wasn't sure who to put here between him and Tariq Cohen. It's hard to say. I could see them being a pretty good 1-2 punch, duo. But I think David Montgomery, at least what we've seen from him so far, even in that preseason game last night against the Carolina Panthers, he's a fighter. He keeps playing. He keeps fighting for extra yardage. This is something that I think is going to make the Bears offense a lot more durable. Now, with him being a rookie, I can't exactly put him, in the good tier. We haven't seen much from him. But I think he'll at least play at an average level. I don't think he's going to be one of the bottom running backs in the NFL. Derrick Henry, I don't quite understand all of the hype for him. Basically, he was performing as one of the worst running backs in the NFL. Basically his whole career. And then towards the end of the season there, he popped off for and I think it was the final 6 games of the season. He changed his average from 3.7 yards per carry to 4.9, and towards the end of the season last year, he was one of the best running backs in the NFL. But I don't think he'll really be able to continue that in 2019. The Titans have a decent O-line, and behind a good O-line, any running back could look at least decent. But I kind of find the Titans O-line to be a bit overrated. Against the Baltimore Ravens in 2018, they gave up 11 sacks. 11. I get that was, one of the better, maybe even one of the best, pass rushes in the league, and, one of the best defenses in the league in 2018. But seriously, 11 sacks is not okay. I just don't find Derrick Henry having that great of a year, so I'm going to put him in the average tier. Now, who knows? He could surprise me. He could have a 1,500 yard rushing season, but I don't see him being all that impressive. I actually think they should use Dion Lewis more than they do, but sorry, I kind of rambled about the Titans for a little bit there. Next here we have Devontae Freeman. Now, he's also been quiet for a while due to his injuries, but if you look back in 2016, he was one of the best running backs in the NFL. Made that Falcons offense so explosive. Now, I know they have an elite quarterback in Matt Ryan. They have, in my opinion, the second best receiver in the NFL behind DeAndre Hopkins. I expect a lot from Devontae Freeman in 2019. I expect him to be a top 10 running back this next year, and we've seen it from him. I think he can be a great running back. I really do. James Conner, he did very well in stepping into the Le'Veon Bell replacement role in 2018. I think he did a little bit better than we expected him to. You know, it was basically his rookie year because, he hadn't really played much his, actual rookie year. But behind the Steelers' offensive line, just about any running back would look good. I do still think the Steelers' offensive line is one of the best in the NFL. And I think it's fair to put James Conner in the good tier. The good tier is for guys, in the top, 15, 16 running backs in the NFL. I think that's, pretty reasonable. Great, I'd say, top 9 or 10. Elite, top 3 to top 5 running backs in the NFL. That's kind of how I'm ranking them. Joe Mixon, I also find him to be a very slept-on running back. He was 4th in rushing this last year and was definitely one of the bright spots for that Cincinnati offense. I think he also has the potential to be a great running back. Who knows? He could take a step down and, not really perform as well as we're predicting. But I'm liking what I'm seeing from him so far, and I think he can be a great running back. Jordan Howard, he was not recently, but in this offseason, he was traded to the Philadelphia Eagles, who, in my opinion, have definitely one of the better offensive lines in the league. And, he always finds ways to get close to 1,000 yards rushing, and I think he's been a pretty slept-on running back for quite a while now. I think it's fair to put him in the good tier, but I don't think he's going to take that next step up to become a top 10 running back. He'll be good. He'll be a good piece for the Eagles offense, but I don't think that he'll be, a top 10 running back. Next we have Josh Jacobs. I'll admit, I haven't really seen a lot from him. I don't really know what to think of him. Now, thinking about it, I probably should have waited until at least all of the preseason week 1 games are over. So I can get a better look at Josh Jacobs too. But I think I'm going to put him at average as well because, we haven't seen him play a single NFL snap yet. We don't know if he'll really perform that well. So that's kind of all I have to say about him right now. Kenyon Drake. I think he is also one of the few bright spots on the Dolphins' offense. They've struggled pretty bad for quite a while now. But, I think he'll at least be average. I don't think that we'll... Well... Okay, I'm going to rearrange this a little bit because we can't have every running back be listed as average or good. There's got to be some that are below average. There's obviously running backs that are better than others. I'm going to put Josh Jacobs and Kenyon Drake in below average because we haven't seen much from Jacobs, and I don't think Kenyon Drake is, going to quite be in that average range. Now, Kerryon Johnson, man, I'm expecting a big year for him. He was performing very well until he got injured. He caused issues for a lot of defenses. I expect him to have at least 1,000 yards rushing and be a big piece of that Lions offense. I'm gonna put him in the good tier for now because I don't think he'll quite make that step to, top 10, but I think he'll definitely be top 15. Next, Lamar Miller. Now, he's talented. We've seen it from him. But that Texans offensive line is honestly probably the worst in the league. If not, at least bottom 5. I'm sorry, but unless you're, freaking Saquon Barkley, you're not going to be a top running back with one of the worst offensive lines in the league. It's not going to happen. Leonard Fournette, he's been injured for a while. Really hasn't been quite as good as people have expected, including me. I was excited for him coming out of the draft because I watched him a little bit at LSU, and I thought he'd be a really good running back, and I've got to admit he's disappointed. And until I see him play better and really be that big game changer, I think he'll be a below average running back right now. LaShawn McCoy, we've seen it from him. He's been one of the better running backs in the NFL before. But, lately, he hasn't really shown that. I think he's definitely declining. And I don't think he's going to be all that great this next year. I think, I see Josh Allen being a good quarterback this next year. Well, I don't know about necessarily good quarterback, but, definitely grow quite a bit and surprise a lot of people. But even with that, I don't think McCoy is going to have that great of a year. I think there's plenty of running backs that will outperform him, and I just don't think he's going to be all that great. Le'Veon Bell, I'm going to put him in great because, while before he was playing at an elite level, but there's two big things that have made him drop to great. One of which, Steelers offensive line again. Steelers offensive line can make almost any running back look good. Now, I know Le'Veon Bell has talents that not many running backs have. He's very talented. I'm not going to deny that. He has worked very hard. But he's taken a year off football. And you can't really take a year off football and expect to, come back into the NFL and, be the best back in the league. Now, he'll have a good season, Don't think that I'm, calling him bad or anything. But I don't think he'll be quite what everyone expects. That's why I have him as a great running back. Next, I have Mark Ingram. Now, the Ravens have a pretty good O-line, I feel like. Mark Ingram's he's gotten a lot of hate that he doesn't deserve. With the Saints, he's made a lot of big plays for them and been a big reason why they've been so explosive. I think he's been pretty slept on, and I think he can have a good season with the Ravens, especially in their, rush-heavy offense now. I expect him to have maybe 1,000 yards rushing. It'll depend, but I could definitely see it. Next, we have Marlon Mack. Now, if we were going based off 2018, I could put him in the good tier. He isn't bad. He had a pretty good season, but he also has, a very good offensive line, and with so many running backs, growing and getting better and everything, I think that makes him fall more into the average category. I think all of these running backs listed in good, great, and elite, I think they're all better than him. Now, he could prove me wrong. I could see him in the good tier. He's kind of in the middle there on that line. But until I see another very good and productive season from him, I'm putting him at average. Now, Melvin Gordon, I'll say he performs like an elite running back. He's on a very good team and is a big portion of why that team is so good. Now, I wasn't sure where to put him on this list because, as of now, he's still holding out. He hasn't gone back to the team yet. He's still being persistent. I wasn't sure if I should put him as an elite running back. But this is just under the assumption that he will play the full 2019 season. Next we have Nick Chubb. I think he'll have at least 1,000 yards rushing. This dude was phenomenal. Man, I don't even know what to say about him. He is going to have a big year. Even after Kareem Hunt comes back, I think he'll be the starter and will still put up big numbers. That's kind of all I have to say about him. Now, the next one is Peyton Barber. Now, we're not really sure who the Bucs starting running back will be. but I kind of see it being Peyton Barber. I think he is kind of, well, I'll just say I don't think the Bucks have really much of a rushing game, and I don't think he'll really play at that great of a level. I'm just gonna put him in below average. Philip Lindsay, I think he had a good year, and man, I love this guy's story. He was undrafted. A lot of people didn't expect him to, come out and play that well, including me. Had over 1,000 yards rushing. But with Royce Freeman coming back this next year, I think they'll want to get him into the mix more, and I don't think he'll have quite as good of a season. I'm going to put him in average. Saquon Barkley, I think it's fair to say he's elite. In my opinion, I think he's the best running back in the NFL. That's all I have to say about Saquon. I don't think that's unreasonable. Sony Michel, I'd put good. He had a very good rookie campaign. I think he'll be able to continue that. Tevin Coleman, he's a good running back, but again, with so many running backs getting so much better, I don't think he'll really outperform them a whole lot. That's kind of where I'd put him. Now, these last two running backs, I'm going to put them both at elite. Todd Gurley, I think you guys are kind of forgetting just how good he was. Yeah, he has arthritis in his knee. But the Rams haven't talked about taking any reps from him. I think he's still going to perform at a very good level, and I think that's something that we've got to be, watching out for. I think he can